And see, this was done by my great-grandma Bills, who was my maternal grandmother's mother, my Grandma Eastman's mother. And this was all hand embroidered. She crocheted around the edge of it. But look how absolutely perfect these stitches are. And see, but if you look at the back side of that, you can see that where she's made her knots and everything. But yeah, that was done by my great-grandmother, one of my great-grandmothers on my mom's side of the family. And this was also done by my great-grandma Bills. It was embroidered. But this one was kind of interesting. I think it was possibly done out of maybe an old flour sack, and I'm trying to find where it is that there's the, oh, right here.
The words?
See, there's a little like mark there, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe it didn't totally bleach out. And so I kind of think that this was possibly made out of an old flour sack as well. These were done by either my great-great-grandmother, that was my great-grandmother Eastman here. It was her mother or her grandmother. But this lace is all, I think it's a knitted. It's all completely knitted. And the pillowcase wore out, but look at the lace. You know, I think this is all a knitted lace. I'm going to take this over with me to the lace days, and I'm going to let the museum look at it. And I'm going to ask them if I'm right, if this is knitted, if this is all knitted lace here. But yeah.
There.
And this is one of the pillowcases.
And is this the same?
Yeah, same grandmother, yeah. And see, this one she'd embroidered, but see, look at the lace she's put there on the end of that, too. I mean, that's probably at least a good 6, maybe even 8 inches long that she'd finished there with lace. I'd always wanted to learn, and so I bought myself a book. And in 2019, while I was watching April General Conference, I sat down and started learning how to tat. I started first by trying to make a chain, learn how to flip that knot, and sometimes the knot transferred, other times it didn't. You know, I took 2 different colors of yarn to try to learn how to transfer the knot, and I wasn't always successful. This was when I was practicing rings, and as you can see, this last ring here was not really, didn't turn out really great. I don't think it closed all the way. And then this was kind of where I was trying to learn to make joins. I was trying to put this little butterfly on here, and that wasn't really great, but I held on to the ugly stuff. This is some of the jewelry that I've made. I did these little bracelets for my granddaughter. I couldn't find my picture of my lace tree, but every year I put together a lace tree for Christmas. This is my mother and dad, and my mom was the one that taught me how to embroider. These are some pictures I had embroidered that I have in my downstairs bathroom. And later in life, my mom picked up crocheting. She made me this little witch. We have a family tradition where we decorate for all the different holidays. My Grandma Eastman, this is my grandmother, she was the one that taught me how to crochet, kind of after I learned how to crochet in primary. And I have a kind of a cool story. This is my mom with an Afghan. And my Aunt Darlene Okeson lives over in Farron, had wanted me to make her a new turkey for this little pilgrim that my mom had made her, that she had lost her turkey, and when she moved from Farron down to St. George. And so she brought me the yarn to make the turkey, because she can't see to do it anymore, nor can my mother. And with this, she brought me this sack of yarn, and my mom had always felt bad that she never got her Afghan from my grandmother. My grandma made all of us grandkids, there were 17 of us, each Afghan when we graduated from high school. Mine's in my bedroom. But as I looked at this sack of yarn, I realized that my mom had told me her Afghan was going to be a green one. And my grandmother got to the point where she really couldn't see, and then she broke her shoulder. And so my mom never got her Afghan from my grandmother. And as I looked at the sack of yarn, I thought, this has got to be my mom's Afghan. And it had about 18 inches of an Afghan finished. And so I sat down and I crocheted the Afghan. I gave that to my mom this year for Mother's Day. These are two of the altar cloths I did for the Manti Temple. And it was my Grandma Rushton that got me into knitting. One time when I was a little kid, this is my dad's mother, but one time when I was a little kid, I was at her house, and I admit I was snooping, and I happened to look in her closet, and I saw this set of knitting needles and a ball of yarn, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. My grandma's like Wilma Flintstone. I used to love to watch the Flintstones when I was a little kid. I was about 8 years old, and I was asking my grandma about it, and so she gave me the knitting needles and the ball of yarn. And she was the one that kind of taught me how to knit. I was probably about between the ages, oh, this is my work basket. This is the copy of the work basket. That's what they looked like. Kind of. They come out about 4 times a year.
So what is that, 1968?
It's a 1988, April 1988, yeah.
Well used.
Yeah. But I started this Afghan when I was probably about 12 years old and finished it when I was about 14. But as you can see, looking at this, this is knitted. But this was the first panel I did, and I hadn't yet learned here how to twist the yarn behind, because I was self-taught with tatting. There was so much stuff I had to unlearn, and like I didn't know that there was actually a difference between tatting thread and regular crochet cotton, because if you look at the tatting thread, this is a small, let's see, this is a bigger thread, but it has a lot tighter weave to it than what standard crochet cotton does, you know. Like if you know, there's a little bit thinner, finer thread. And so the loops are a little bit smaller. But on this one, I was practicing Josephine knots, because this is an earring that I'm making. And when I get this done, I want to hopefully put some, I'm going to join it up here. And then I want to put some Josephine knots around the edges of it. And I've got some different types of ornaments. Like this particular ornament right here is knitted. I did that with a pair of double-pointed knitting needles. And then I've got these ornaments that are all crocheted. I've had books for some of them, but like a lot of these little ornaments, there's a place that on the internet, and I don't remember the name of the lady that does it, but it's called, she has a blog that's called Snowcatcher, and I don't read her blog, but she has like a pattern gallery that has just all kinds of patterns. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of an Indian dream catcher. This one was an interesting one because you don't start it in the middle. I had to block it to get the star shape in the middle. But yeah, every year I pick a pattern and I make 2 new snowflakes. This one was called the San Rafael snowflake. On a blog one week she talked about going through the San Rafael swell, and this was the snowflake she put together. And this is one that I had designed. I put on my lace tree. And then these are some that I tatted. And I got that little tiny one. And then this one's tatted. And that one's tatted. And then I got this one that are all tatted. The first shuttle I was using was about that big, and I was having a hard, and and I was holding it kind of like this, you know. They told me I was holding it like a woman that had crocheted for years and years and years, so I had to get down. They taught me how to hold the shuttle different, and that it's very important that you, when you're doing rings and chains, that your tension on your hand, you need to flip the bird. You know, very important. Let's see, this one. And it's just basically you go under like that and then over. That's 3. This is the 4th one. And then I'm going to put a picot. And so I just put like a little pinch on it. And then you kind of stitch here. And do your stitch, move it up, and see, then you've got this little picot. Sometimes I have, this one's kind of a little bigger than what I want it to be. so I kind of have to adjust it down. Yeah, I like this, these types of shuttles too, that have the little pick on the end, because they're good for making joins. One more I gotta do. Okay, and then you can use your pick, and if this doesn't work, I might have to resort to a crochet hook. I've used crochet hooks too sometimes to do a join.
So you've integrated the beads in with that?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I cut up the first two that I was putting together of this one, because the first one, the beads were too gaudy. And the second one, I didn't like the relationship between the chains and the proportions of the chains to the rings. And so I cut up the second one, but then this one I'm going with. And by transferring the knot, then you can close, then you should be able to close your ring. And so the earring is kind of taking shape here. And then I want to come in later and I want to do, that's why I was practicing the little, all of the Josephine knots, because I want to go around the edges here. Let's see now, the Josephine knots. But it's these little tiny knots that are at the end of the chain. I have a lot of crocheted doilies, but I don't have one that's tatted yet.
Is that in the forecast?
I don't know, might be. Yeah. And when I was a little kid, I had all four of my great-grandmothers living. I remember all four of my great-grandmothers. And I have some things that my great-grandma Rushton made me too. I have a baby quilt that she had made when I was a baby. And I remember her crocheting too, but I don't have any of her work. But with my great-grandma Jenkins, she was blind when I was a child. And she had came from Sweden. And I wish I could have seen what she did do back in the day. Oh yeah, it's relaxing. Yeah, I like to do handwork because it's relaxing. Well, and back when Steve and I were first married, we were young kids that didn't have any money. I used to make a lot of my own gifts and give them away. As a matter of fact, the year Aaron was born, I made like 10 sets of these little Mr. and Mrs. Snowmen that we gave away as Christmas presents.